Shalom, Shalom, this Yair from GMS branch in Savannah, Georgia, coming with another lesson. But first and foremost, I want to give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rikakudash, and double honors to the apostles and elders and elder bishops of Great Millstone, which rule well, teach well, and to the Akim as well as the Phillips, pushing this 100% truth and sincerity by risking their lives to do so. And also to you hopeful elected, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as you speckled birds scattered amongst the heathens that have the appearance of the heathens, but their father's seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and also referred to as Israelite foreigners. But today's lesson I'm going into is NBA player, Sean Kemp, very talented NBA player that, a lot of the, us coming up watching the NBA basketball, he was a very talented athlete, he's up in the top of one of the greatest to ever do it on the basketball court. But, look at Sean Kemp, you have all them riches and, look where he at, he in court, over some BS. That he shouldn't even got himself tangled up in, But I'm just going to show you like the little clip here, and then we're going to hit some scriptures on this because, our athletes got to understand, man, the time we in now, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you Sean Kemp, back in the day, but today, man, you just still a Negro, a ninja. That's how a lot of people look at you, that's all they think of you, in this time, So, play this little quick clip, then we're going to hit some scriptures on it.
When this incident happened 3 years ago, it's kind of changed every aspect of my life. Just from the standpoint of me being involved with so many kids. Just so much youth looking up to me. So the way that this has changed my life is that for the rest of my life, I have to be an advocate of gun violence. I have to go out here, talk to these kids, explain myself, my actions to these kids to try to save their lives. So the impact is real. And I think I appreciate everybody's kind words, but I accept the responsibility for what I did. I should have used a better discretion. I haven't got this successful in life without using those discretions, and I'm very apologetic for what
I did. This court wishes to admonish Mr. Kemp in the strongest possible terms that arming oneself in these circumstances could have resulted in the loss of innocent life, a tragedy which would be irreparable. I cannot state strongly enough that this could have been easily avoided by simply walking away. Property is replaceable, human life is not. Mr. Kemp will be sentenced to 30 days, converted to electronic home monitoring. He will serve 12 months of community custody, and as a condition of that community custody, he must complete 20 hours of community service per month for a total of 240 hours during the coming year. That community service is to be done the majority of the time in the Tacoma-Pierce County area. The reason is it's being imposed for a twofold purpose. First, for Mr. Kemp to engage in positive behavior, which will prevent a reoccurrence of criminal behavior. And second, to restore to the community he endangered by his actions.
When I say this,
And like I say, you look in this situation, of a lot of our people, man. Like I say, the Lord only opened up this truth to a small remnant of people, a very small remnant of people, man. A lot of our people are still out there, operating as 2/3 out here, and like I say, a lot of our people just not being smart, That's why, right here in Proverbs 2:4 says, "For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge, and understanding. And that's these scriptures in these in the Bible. These scriptures, man, are living waters, man. We never thirst. That's why when you're in this truth, you see things differently. You move differently. And we come in this truth. We are here to do the work of our Father, man. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, doing the work. You know, that's what it's all about. Doing the work. It's not doing all other kind of stuff. Community, we don't get out and do all this community tied stuff. We don't do that. We go out here and try to, what I'm saying, we fishing for fruit out here. We searching for those ones that hear the Lord's voice, the sheep, and they repent and come back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai in these last days. That's what it's all about. But Sean Kemp see himself as a figure of the world, and like I say, Sleazy, he didn't care. It could have been bad. It could have been worse for him. He out here pulling out his pew pew, man, and being being reckless out here, man. And like I say, anything could have been happening. It could have definitely been worse for him. And that's why, Ephesians 5:15, see that ye walk circumspectly, not as a fool, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. And like I say, you got to be smart moving around out here. This goes out to the athletes and the regular Joe Smo on the street. You just got to be smart, knowing that the days we're in. Because like I say, he was, he's got money, and like I say, but a lot of times it don't profit him, the riches, when it comes to wrath. Because like I say, things could have been worse for him. You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta be smart out here. You definitely gotta be smart. And and like I say, Sean Kemp gotta understand, we still under the curses. Shall thou be, cursed shall be thou be in the city, and cursed thou shall be in the field. We still under these curses. And you gotta keep yourself aligned under that umbrella of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, where you make very smart decisions out here. And these scriptures help you do that. Because like I say, some things could be bad, and then they could even be worse. So we just have to be smart about the things that we do out here in Babylon. We have to be very smart. And right here, Jeremiah 4:22, for my people foolish, they have not known me. They are Sodom's children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good, they have no knowledge. Yeah, and that's because you don't follow Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So you don't have no knowledge out here. You moving around like a 2/3. And like I say, you got to have that covering out here, because things will get more wicked in Babylon. And like I say, sleazy finna go in on you tribes. A lot of people gonna get caught up out here because they're not gonna have that covering. They're not gonna have that covering at all. But hey, the hell with worldly stuff, man. We here to follow Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, to navigate us, so hopefully we can endure to the end, man. All that other stuff don't matter, man. Because like I say, we already know everything gonna come digital sooner or later. You know what I'm saying? So hey, you gonna have to walk away from a lot of stuff anyway. But hey, you don't want to compound stuff, going out here, pulling your pew pew out, man, and just being reckless with it, man. Because like I say, they're just being wicked. They're just being plumb wicked. And like I say, you can't do like Sleazy. That's like Psalm 73 and 5. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. But you go out here and pull your pew out, Jake, and you gonna definitely get punished out here. It ain't gonna be no slap on the hand. You know, it's definitely not gonna be a slap on the hand. You just gotta smart, move smart out here in Babylon. And stay in these scriptures. Continue to pray. Because a lot of times you pray and Yahweh Hashem and Yahweh Shah will keep a lot of that foolishness away from you. But if you don't have no covering, all kind of BS gonna come at you. You need that force field around you, here in Babylon. And that's the main thing. And that's why we blow the trumpet, just to let you know, like, hey, we in the end days. It's all about Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai. That's your strong tower. Without it, you won't have the covering. You're going to be sitting in these courtrooms trying to explain yourself, and you messed up and did something stupid. So, Jake, hey, once you know better, you do better. And that's the thing about it with these scriptures. You got the old got to get, must go. And you become new in these living waters. You become a new creature. A whole new person. You become new in this truth, man. You become new. You do away with the old man. And you become wise. And you move around in Babylon wise. So like I say, I just, saw this video to say, hey, just warn our people, repent, come back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and have that covering. Because things are getting wickeder and wicked and wicked and wicked and more wicked every day. But I hope it's edifying to the whole for sheep and lamb. Quorum Yasharala and Thawada Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. On to the next lesson.